community. And just a reminder that this is a special meeting of council, and there will be no opportunity for questions from the public at this time. But they have assured me that they will be back, and there will be a couple of public forums in which the public will be allowed to answer questions and do whatever. There will be a public information session. There will be public information sessions for the purpose of receiving public input to be scheduled in the future. At this time, I would like to introduce and welcome Yves Forget and the Inspector, Detachment Commander East Alberta OPP, and Pam Ford and Leanne Spong from the Municipal Policing Bureau. Welcome. Also, we'll wait till after the presentation to ask questions, and we can now begin.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much, Your Worship, for having this here today. I'd also like to thank the members of council, Ms. Townsend, and members of the public of the gallery for coming out today. My name is Pam Ford, and I'm a contract analyst for the Municipal Policing Bureau for the Ontario Provincial Police. And it's my pleasure to be here today to introduce you to the OPP Costing Proposal. So this will be the first time you've seen it. It's also the first time the council has seen it. So in attendance today with me, you've already heard, I have Inspector Yves Forget, from the Detachment Commander from East Alberta. And we also have representing Northeast Region is Superintendent Jim Zarka, and he's sitting in the gallery with me today. And to my left is my manager, Case Manager, Staff Sergeant Leanne Spong. Right, so the costing that we're going to present to you today has been requested by the town of Espanola. And the way in which that costing request was done, it was done through the ministry. So your council sends a letter to the ministry, and then the ministry directs us to prepare the costing and provide it. Our purpose here today is to provide you with the information about policing services provided by the OPP and the cost of those services for the town of Espanola. We are not here in any way, shape, or form to compare our services to that of your exceptional police service and under Chief Edwards. We are here today because we have a great working relationship with the members, and we want to make sure that nothing like that is going to change in the future, regardless of the outcome of the costing proposal. So we currently have a great working relationship with everyone. We want to continue working together with the goal of maintaining safety for your community. And our objective is, at the conclusion of this presentation, is that you'll have a clear understanding of the OPP's proposal and be able to assist you in making an informed decision on your community's future increase. That being said, today you are going to receive an incredible amount of information. This is council and mayor's first time receiving the packages themselves, and just to get a very good back. Oh, sorry.
There's a mic right there.
Well, we have a lot of information, so we've got a lot of numbers to go through. So that is that better? Can you hear us now? Sorry, it's hard in a forum like this. So that being said, you're going to receive an incredible amount of information this evening. I suggest that you keep notes, and later on what we're going to do is we'll be able to answer a few of your questions, but we're going to ask that the same protocol for questions remains in place that we've had throughout this entire process. So the questions that council have, maybe some very detailed ones, will be delivered to Ms. Townsend. Ms. Townsend will get them to myself. I'll farm out to the appropriate business areas, and then we'll keep that line of communication. In addition to a copy of the presentation that council has received today, you'll see within your packages that you have the contract proposal, the 2016 annual report, the OPP Policing Services Profile, and the Police Services Governance document that outlines differences between a Section 10 Police Services Board under the Police Services Act and a Section 31 Police Services Board that is currently in place in Espanola. So this evening we're going to go through several areas with regards to the policing services of the OPP, and that includes provincial support, regional support, the services delivered from the detachment, the OPP accountability and reporting, the transition contract, and ultimately the cost for policing the town of Espanola. Following the presentation, like His Worship has said, we will answer a few questions to council. But this evening's presentation is not meant as a Q&A session, and we encourage that we set up a public meeting in the near future to allow for public input. So the first slide here is what we have is our organizational chart, and this is our upper level command of the Ontario Provincial Police. This shows our Commissioner Vince Hawks, Provincial Commander, and the 3 Deputy Commissioners for the OPP, along with a list of their program areas in which they're responsible for. The OPP is a provincial force. So, and as such, the Commissioner reports to the Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services. The OPP was formed in 1909 and has a long history of municipal policing in Ontario. We have been policing municipalities in Ontario under contract since the 1940s, and we currently police 323 of the 444 municipalities in Ontario on a cost recovery basis. We currently have 111 contracts serving 144 municipalities, and 179 municipalities receive policing services in the OPP under Section 5.1 non-contract policing agreement. The OPP cost recovery process is mandated and adhered to achieving fair cost recovery from municipalities throughout Ontario. A copy of the annual report is in the package that we have given to council members, and our latest annual report was developed in 2016. It provides an overview of the extensive services that the OPP delivers under both provincial and municipal mandates. It includes a segment on OPP policing costs, which may be of particular interest to you going forward. The scope of our responsibility includes traffic safety and community policing, combating organized and technically complex crime, and emergency response and crime prevention. While these are all day-to-day activities, they are not static by any means. We remain committed to delivering policing services that are intelligence-led and applying analytics in the deployment of resources to target public safety trends. The OPP employs over 8,300 members and are assigned to 190 working locations across Ontario. And we have a vast experience in both providing provincial and municipal policing services across the province. So in the next few slides, I'll be able to provide an overview of the resources and services that are available to the town of Espanola and that are managed at a provincial or regional level. All right? Although the OPP is large, the members that serve Espanola will continue to provide policing services that cater to the people and needs of your community. These are, however, benefits and economies of scale that come from being part of a larger organization. Should your municipality accept the OPP proposal, you will also receive extensive administrative and operational support from our general headquarters in Orillia and our regional headquarters, which is also in North Bay. Available to Espanola are many, not necessarily as many duties would be the responsibility of some of your administrative staff. The administrative support your municipality will receive will save your staff time and allow them to focus on greater projects throughout the town of Espanola. With over 100 years in policing, both rural and urban settings, policies have been developed and maintained to improve policing and limiting risk. Other support areas include contract negotiation, arbitration and grievance processes, freedom of information, public complaints, and all are conducted internally, alleviating work to the municipality. Also, the OPP is liable for any damages that may arise from any negligent acts or omissions by its members. With regards to things such as equipment, papers, pens, any kind of supplies, the OPP often purchases on large province-wide basis, and therefore bringing advantages with regards to providing a reduction of costs and supplies. The OPP is accountable to the municipalities that we serve at all levels of our organization. This is affirmed provincially by our Commissioner Vince Hawks, by our regional command, in your case, it would be Chief Superintendent Fern LaBelle, and locally by your detachment commander. This slide goes on to talk about our InService Training program. InService Training, often referred to as IST, is designed to offer professional instruction to OPP officers annually. Instruction is provided for mandatory training in all of the areas as required by legislation. And InService Training is also a division of the Provincial Police Academy, which although housed in Aurelia, there are 15 deployed in-service training facilities and sites throughout the province to provide training for every region in Ontario. Ontario Regulation 399 sets out requirements for adequate and effective policing services. Adequacy and effectiveness of the OPP is monitored both internally and through our quality assurance unit, as well as externally by the provincial auditor. These audits are conducted at regular interviews, annually, biannually, and some monthly, depending on what the circumstances are. Any item that is perceived to have any kind of concerns are allowed for progress, and any items requiring corrective action. So now that I've provided you with some of the information about our services on both the provincial and the regional level, I'd like to play a short video on our integrated service model, and they'll provide you a little bit more information. So just give me 1 second. This is a little hard to hear, but as a result, we're actually going to provide it to the municipality so that they can post it to their website.
The Ontario Provincial Police operate out of host detachments, satellite offices, 5 regional headquarters, 1 divisional headquarters, and a general headquarters. With a footprint that covers more than 1.1 million kilometers of land and 100,000 kilometers of waterways. The OPP currently provides policing services to more than 320 municipalities on a cost recovery basis. Detachments operate on an integrated service delivery model, which allows for the blending and sharing of resources. Detachment officers provide policing services to 1 or more municipalities and also provide policing services on King's highways, provincial parks, and waterways in accordance with provincial obligations. Officers in detachments are not designated as municipal or provincial officers and will often work in multiple locations during a shift. Integrated service provides the OPP with more flexibility to meet changing policing demands at a lower cost than having 1 standalone detachment serving a single municipality. It allows municipalities and the province to share the cost of detachment supervisory and administrative positions and detachment infrastructure. Combining the resources required to police multiple municipalities within 1 detachment provides a larger number of officers to draw on for major occurrences and emergencies. Detachments can direct more resources to a major occurrence without relying on overtime. The integrated service model also allows for coordinated policing strategies for issues that often span multiple jurisdictions. Being part of a larger regional-type policing model offers communities the opportunity to engage and partner with other community safety and wellness agencies outside of municipal boundaries. Regional and general headquarters supply regular and specialty resources to detachments as needed. The OPP utilizes daily activity reporting as a system to record the time and location an officer works to ensure municipalities do not pay for provincial policing obligations. The OPP does not typically provide a standalone or independent policing option, as the integrated model is more efficient and works best with the OPP's footprint across the province.
I always hate it when you always hear that mic sound. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Inspector Yves Forget. He's the detachment commander of East Algonah Detachment. He's going to provide you with an overview of the proposed amalgamation structure and the policing deployment for Escalona.
Thank you, Pam. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, ladies and gentlemen of the gallery. As stated by Pam, my name is Yves Forget. I am the Inspector, Detachment Commander of the East Algonah Detachment. and I'm also here this evening as a representative of Northeast Regional Command. I'm in my 29th year of policing, and I'm also originally from Northern Ontario, where I've also spent the majority of my career, which has also provided me with a very sound understanding of policing northern communities such as Espanola. The OPP is accountable through the detachment commander to the police services boards, municipal council, and to the citizens of the municipalities we serve. Municipalities entering into a contract with the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services receive their policing pursuant to Section 10 of the Police Services Act. We have included in your package a fact sheet outlining the differences between a Section 10 and a Section 31 Police Services Act policing. As you saw in the video, the OPP does not provide a standalone policing option, but rather uses an integrated service delivery model, which essentially provides us with a seamless and collaborative approach in delivering an effective and efficient service across the province. Should your municipality elect to receive policing services from the OPP, the detachment commander will ensure that all adequacy standards are met and that all appropriate resources remain focused on meeting your municipality's unique policing needs in consultation with the Espanola Police Services Board. What is presented here is the overall proposed detachment structure, which also includes the amalgamated Espanola members. The detachment will be managed by an inspector detachment commander, supported by a staff sergeant operations manager. As you heard in the video, OPP officers were not designated as municipal or provincial officers, but rather work in an integrated fashion in multiple zones throughout their detachment area during their shifts. Frontline officers will be working from the OPP detachment on Highway 17, while support functions such as court officers, crime unit, community safety officers will be working out of the Espanola Services Building. This will also ensure a strong community presence at the center of your municipality. There will be 4 frontline platoons consisting of 12 uniformed frontline positions, of which there will be 1 sergeant and 6 constables assigned specifically to the Espanola zone. The remaining 5 positions, although assigned to the Manitoulin zone, will still be available for deployment in the Espanola zone if necessary. The crime unit would consist of 4 detective constables, which is broken down in 2 in Espanola and 2 in Manitoulin, supervised by an area detective sergeant, which is a regionally supported position with an office in both Sudbury and Espanola. Here again, our integrated deployment model will allow for all of our crime resources to work throughout the entire detachment area in a seamless fashion. There will also be 2 community safety officers, 1 in Espanola, 1 in Manitoulin, as well as 2 outboard officers, and again, 1 in Espanola and 1 in Manitoulin, who will also operate in an integrated fashion within both the Espanola and Manitoulin zones. We have also added 1 analyst position, which is a constable position, housed out of the Espanola detachment or your current downtown office. There will also be 2 administrative clerks assigned specifically to the Espanola zone and 2 more in Manitoulin. The OPP will go through the rank level determination process in consultation of this costing at the conclusion of this costing for your chief position. The rank level with the OPP will be determined and moved to the appropriate place within the detachment structure. My colleagues from the Municipal Policing Bureau can speak more about that process a little later. Should scheduled platoon members be unavailable to attend an urgent call for service within their assigned zone, for example, they're already busy on a call for service, they could be in court, they could be away on training, etc. Other officers from the neighboring zones and or even detachments, as well as our community safety officers and court officers, are available to respond. Our community safety officers and court officers are also always operationally ready. The integrated service delivery model essentially combines all available officers within patrol zones and neighboring areas to provide a larger number of officers to draw from for major occurrences, to respond to any calls for service should scheduled members be unavailable. This model also provides flexibility in terms of overall supervision. The Espanola-Manitoulin detachment, as well as the Sudbury and East Algoma detachments, also maintain a very close working relationship, and all remain at each other's immediate disposal in the event of a major occurrence, as is illustrated in our integrated service delivery model. Again, as you heard in the video, officers in the detachment are not designated as a municipal or provincial officer and will often work in multiple locations during the shifts within their detachment. As stated previously, all of the Espanola officers will be deployed from the 2 existing locations within the Espanola zone. The detachment on Highway 17 and your current location in the downtown. You can see here an additional zone was added, which we're calling Zone 3, in order to encompass and define the town of Espanola zone, or the town zone as you know it today. So the existing zones currently used by both the OPP and the Espanola Police Service will essentially not change, allowing for a smooth transition should amalgamation take place. Espanola OPP members presently and with regularity travel through Espanola while responding to calls for service all around your municipality, during which I'm sure our visibility has already been noticed. It will be the responsibility of the detachment commander, operation manager, and all of the platoon sergeants to ensure appropriate coverage throughout the detachment and your municipality. In 2015, the OPP implemented the Focus Patrol program. Focus Patrols are one of the OPP's major efficiency projects designed to modernize the delivery of its policing service. The objective of Focus Patrols is to reduce crimes, collision, and victimization while maximizing our resource deployment. Once operationalized, Focus Patrols address community, traffic, and crime hotspots identified through data analysis or driven by public complaints. Focus Patrols enables the organization to better target crime and reduce victimization by putting the right resources at the right place at the right time. For generations, officers at shift change would simply inform the incoming shift of occurrence in areas of concerns. With the demand for greater financial accountability, the OPP formalized and structured this process. Through analytical research, other areas of concerns are identified and incident-specific plans are created to reduce a growing trend, be it traffic or crime-related. Officers are informed of the situation and plans are tailored specifically to combat the identified issues. Officers are assigned to participate in the Focus Patrols initiative, which is generated as a calls for service. At the completion of their shift, officers are required to submit a report highlighting their efforts and actions, as well as the results in relation to the Focus Patrol initiative. At the end of the identified Focus Patrol period, a supplementary report are reviewed, and a new analysis is completed of all the calls for service in relation to the Focus Patrol in the identified area. The results are shared with our members and eventually our Police Services Board and municipal partners in order to ensure efficiency, accountability, and productivity of our members. The results are also closely monitored by our Northeast Region Command staff. The implementation of Ontario's mobilization and engagement model of community policing has been a priority for the OPP. The concept of community policing is realized when police mobilize, engage, and partner with members of the community to prevent crime and reduce victimization. The intelligence-led and consultative approach to crime prevention employed by the OPP has resulted in effective and proactive programs for deterring and reducing crime, as well as fostering relationships necessary to aid in solving crimes that do occur. Research, development, and implementation of various programs are a collaborative process. Police services boards play an important role in determining the objectives and priorities for the provisions of the police service. The Espanola Police Service Board would have to be maintained should the municipality choose to opt for police service delivered by the OPP. The detachment commander of the Espanola Manitoulin Detachment would be responsible for managing the police service and overseeing its operation in accordance with objectives, priorities, and policies established by the board. The OPP is known to deliver a wide range of community wellness programs across the province. This slide is a list of some of the programs delivered within the Espanola Manitoulin Detachment. There's typically one community safety officer per detachment assigned to administer these programs, and that officer is supported by all frontline officers and members of different specialized units depending on the nature of the program. For example, any member can participate in a school presentation or take part in a local community safety initiative. Members of the crime unit and regional community street crime units, for example, and other subject matter experts are also available to assist us in providing information sessions within the community on topics such as internet safety, bullying, seniors issues, fraud prevention, and traffic safety. The OPP Kids program, which stands for Knowledge, Issues, Decision, and Support, was developed in conjunction with frontline police officers and professional educators to ensure the content meets current student needs. The OPP Kids program will cover topics such as youth and the law, peer pressure, drug awareness, online social media awareness. This program will in all likelihood be implemented within your schools should amalgamation take place. The detachment commander would also work very closely with the Espanola Police Service Board in regards to local objectives and priorities to further programming needs of the community. The heart of the relationship between the board and the detachment commander is accountability and transparency. The detachment commander is required to meet with the Police Services Board a minimum of 4 times a year. However, we will always make ourselves available as needed. Standardized reports are provided to the Police Services Board. These reports were developed in consultation with Police Services Boards and detachment commanders across. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was yelling at me. Not yet. Not yet. I'll start that one last. Standardized reports are provided to the Police Services Board. These reports were developed in consultation with Police Services Boards, detachment commanders across the province, and our municipal policing bureau. The detachment commander is accountable to the Police Services Boards and the citizens that we serve. You will have immediate access to all OPP specialized services and resources. The OPP also delivers a wide range of community programs with the support of our regional headquarters in North Bay and our general headquarters in Aurelia. Your worship and members of council, I will now be turning the presentation back over to Pam.
So thank you, Eve. So we've heard now about the services that are going to be provided to you specifically to Espanola from the detachment and the operational plan in order to provide policing services to the town of Espanola. What we're going to see now is the cost of that, what the proposal looks like, and the transition contract and the staffing numbers that are going to be associated with that. So should Espanola accept the OPP's proposal, you'll enter into a transition contract before being integrated into the OPP billing model. So everyone always asks, why do you have to go to a transition contract first? Why can't you go into the billing model? So Ontario Regulation 26714 was enacted on January 1st, 2015, and this deals with how the OPP bills municipalities for policing. This regulation is specific to municipalities that are currently which is at the time, which was in 2015, that were being policed by the OPP. New municipalities that amalgamate into the or with the OPP need to therefore go through a transition contract in order for them to be integrated into the current OPP billing model. Another reason, aside from the legislation, is the requirement for the collection of historical data. So in order for the OPP to effectively integrate new municipalities into the billing model, we require a history or benchmark of data, and specifically that deals with our daily reporting, activity reporting, which is the time that we as officers spend doing a specific task or job or call for service. And the other deals with the actual collection of the calls for service data or occurrence reporting, that kind of thing. So in order to accomplish this task, municipalities will be required to enter into a 3+ year contract. It echoes, so that's what I'm talking about. So the 3+ year contract so that the activity data can be collected from the amalgamated members. The final reason for the transition contract is that in order for the municipality to change the police and service agreement, the Ontario Civilian Police Commission, or OCPC, needs to provide its approval. Two of the main goals of OCPC is to ensure that the new policing arrangement will provide adequate and effective policing services for the town of Espanola, and that the employees of the police service are dealt with in a reasonable manner. So the Commission measures police service using full-time equivalent, or what we refer to as FTE. So if you hear us referring to FTE, that is a full-time equivalent. As such, an FTE-based transition. That's right, Karen. That's okay. So as such, the FTE-based transition contract allows them to assess the adequacy of new policing moving forward. So the transition contract is based on FTEs, and as such, the agreement provides your town with a defined number of contractual hours for service. So one FTE is equivalent to 1,417 hours per FTE. This is an availability factor that's used to identify time spent in your community where an officer is providing proactive policing service or responding to calls for service, and is what we call the boots on the ground hours. For example, in your case, Espanola will have 12 uniform FTEs. So when you multiply 12 by the availability factor, 1,417, that says that within 1 year, you will receive, the town of Espanola will receive a minimum of 17,004 hours of service per year. For those wondering why there is a plus in the 3+ year contract, it's because the contract ends at the end of the year, so it aligns with the OPP billing model, which is based on a calendar year. For example, if Espanola were to assign a contract starting on September 1st, it would expire on December 31st, 3+ years, right? So it would never be in September. It would go those 3 months and 3 years from now. The length of the transition contract would be based on whatever date the contract is actually signed. The OPP billing model is for municipal cost recovery is provincially focused, meaning it is based on the services we provide to all municipalities that we recover policing costs from. Within that billing model, a lot of you may be aware in other communities, there is the base calls for service, the base service, the calls for service, and then the other costs. The base service includes the infrastructure, the people, and the detachment to provide proactive policing and respond to calls, and is billed on a per property basis. The calls for service are calculated on a 4-year rolling average, and the municipality is billed for their percentage of the total. Other costs incurred are related to overtime, enhancements, court security, prisoner transportation, as well as accommodation and cleaning. More information, I'm sure, will be required as regards to the billing model. Don't get me wrong, we're not blowing it off, we're not making it small. It's just that we will be glad to come back and provide another information session on the billing model itself and how that works. So here's your staffing model for the town of Espanola. So the first column shows your current police services complement. The second column shows the Manitoulin Espanola OPP detachment or complement. The third column shows the proposed amalgamated complement. And the fourth column shows the portion that the town of Espanola will be billed during the transition contract period. So as part of the integrated detachment, Espinola's share of the detachment commander, which would be the inspector, and the staff sergeant have been calculated at 20%. So what that means is 20% of that inspector's time is expected to be within Espanola, and 20% of the staff sergeant's time is expected to be dedicated to Espanola. With regards to the chief's position, if Chief Edwards chooses to join the OPP, his rank will be determined through the OPP rank level determination process. And for the purpose of balancing the FTE count, they are included in this slide only as a constable. That is not to say that will be what the transition is. It's just a number because we don't know where we would fall within that range. If they choose not to apply, the cost will be adjusted, and that cost is outlined on page 5 of your costing proposal. The next set of numbers below that deal with the civilians in the proposed amalgamation. For the purposes of Espanola, one detachment administrative clerk was reporting to Espanola, and our analysis has determined that one is required to staff this location. With regards to your dispatch, call taker, civilian data entry positions, we have consulted with our Career Development Bureau and our Human Resources, and that these Espanola employees are able to apply for OPP positions as well as Ontario Public Service positions without any restrictions. However, if you look within our model, these positions are not transferable to the proposed staffing model. Altogether, Espanola will be providing services of and billed for 12.4 uniform FTE and 1 civilian FTE. Now, if I can ask Council to refer to their contract policing document, this will be a little bit easier for you to follow along. So if you refer to the contract policing proposal and turn to page 9, I'll break the costing summary up into 3 sections. So this is the actual dollar cost that will be presented to the town. So we use a cost recovery formula to calculate the cost of policing within our municipalities, and this formula is updated annually to reflect the rates for each year. Where there are notes in the second column, this is referring to those that have the proposal in front of them, you'll see that there's further clarifications to the notes as identified, and those clarifications is on page 10 of your proposal. The salary rates for each rank are based on weighted averages, and that includes salary rates, statutory holiday payouts, and shift premiums, which are all reconciled to the provincial average for the billing year. Overtime will be allocated to the municipality based on their actual overtime incurred in the applicable year. Below that, you will see that there are the salary and benefit costs for the 1 civilian position. So now we're going to look on your sheets that you guys have in front of you. You'll look to the center of your costing proposal, say on the same page, and you'll notice that here that we have an area entitled support staff salary and benefits. And the examples of support staff include dispatchers, guards, technology, and radio support staff. For a police service to function, we require support staff, and those roles are based on, these support services are billed on a per officer basis. For Espanola, the calculation would be 12.40 multiplied by the middle column on your sheet that represents the total number of FTEs. Municipal Policing Bureau leads the project that reviews and refreshes the costing formula each year. The review process is done in consultation with staff in all commands throughout the OPP, and these support services are charged, again, on a per officer basis. It's important to note that the costs are a fair representation of the cost to provide municipal policing, and they are not all-inclusive. Any addition or new cost to the formula will require Treasury Board approval. And now this is the last section of your proposal, the Excel sheet that you have in front of you. And this section refers to other direct operating expenses. We also recover the cost for other direct operating expenses on a per officer basis. So again, you calculate these expenses and multiply by the middle column by 12.4. You will also note a one-year adjustment of $21,167. And that is because uniform and equipment is billed in the initial cost, which you'll see on the next page, and you are not required to pay the per officer cost in the first year. Now, if you turn to page 11 of your proposal document, this page addresses the initial one-time startup costs. Upon amalgamation, there are initial startup costs with respect to uniform, equipment, and vehicles. The quantities required are listed along with unit prices and totals. It should be noted that the costs associated are required system upgrades, and other detachment-related facility areas are not listed above. These expenditures will be invoiced separately. Examples of additional costs that have not been estimated in this proposal are for items that include such things such as the beat radio system, should it be required, building renovations, building signage, a duress system, gun lockers, long gun vaults, and the long gun vault of cost for opening police departments. This also does not include telephone drop lines, and the total startup cost, which again is reconciled to actual, so if there's things that are deemed not to be needed or things that we add in. But the total startup cost is estimated at $295,446. This slide here summarizes the estimated policing and initial costs that we will find within your proposal. This includes total salary and benefits of $1,793,146. Support staff salaries and benefits of $182,181. Other direct operating expenses of $147,123. For a total estimated policing annual cost of $2,122,450. We take off that uniform and that one-year uniform and equipment adjustment of $21,167. We add on the one-time startup and capital costs of $295,446 for the first year total estimated policing cost of $2,396,729. These costs are valid for 6 months from today's date, which would make it valid until March 20th, 2018. If the municipality chooses to accept the OPP proposal, amalgamated frontline members will report to the Espanola OPP detachment located on Highway 17. The existing Espanola Police Service facility will be used as a satellite or extension of the Espanola OPP detachment and will house other support functions such as court officer, community safety officer, the crime unit, and an analyst. The OPP has completed a comprehensive capacity assessment, and as a result of the visit in June, and a follow-up visit earlier this year, We have confirmed that there are some issues with the police station that would require attention, and those include but are not limited to the security of the facility, accessibility, parking, telecommunications, and your cell area. The cost to upgrade the facility would be at the town's expense. We propose a meeting as soon as possible with the costing committee to discuss these facilities issues. We will have members of our OPP facilities section at this meeting to deliver the report and to assist in the discussion. Now, earlier this year, we have met several times with the facilities, the committee and council, with Facilities, Infrastructure Ontario, and we also have provided you a sheet that identified deficiencies or requirements for change that were required in the new building. But we are happy to come back, and we'd like to book that relatively soon within the next few weeks to certainly the next couple of months, so that we can go over those changes that are required of you, so you have an educated and you can make an educated and informed decision with regards to your facility. Included in your proposal as well, you'll see an appendix that speaks to the records and information management, which we also refer to as RIM. We have assessed 3 basic areas: your physical and electronic records, as well as the state of your storage space. The physical records and storage space are in relatively good order. However, the current state of the electronic records requires some attention. Our records and information management unit will work collaboratively with the town of Espanola and the police service to ensure that legislative and regulatory requirements have been met, and that these 3 areas are in excellent shape should an amalgamation take place. There are other financial considerations that do not form part of this proposal, and they are the responsibility of the town of Espanola. Listed on the slide are some examples, and that includes the cost of maintaining the Police Services Board, any applicable costs associated with the storage of electronic and physical records, the disposal of assets. Should there be specific assets that we're not going to take, that is the responsibility of yourselves, such as anything from weapons to electronic equipment. Severances for municipal employees according to their collective agreement. The cost to modify the facility to OPP guidelines, and the pension divestment of your employees. At this time, we're going to go over just a few of the next steps. Take your time to review the information that we've provided to you. It is a lot of information. There's a lot of information in the packages that are before you. We have already established a very good communication with your CAO in the way in which, and that's Cynthia, in the way in which we did relay questions back and forth. And we'd like to coordinate any questions moving forward in the same manner between Cynthia and myself. There is information about the OPP and the services we provide on our OPP website at opp.ca. And if you search for the Municipal Policing Bureau on our main page, you'll find additional information and resources that may find that you will answer some of your questions, particularly in the information manual, which we provided to you at our initial meetings. Please feel free to direct yourselves, any members of council, and any members of the public to the website. All that information is there for you. The next steps are covered off on the slide if the proposal is accepted, including the OCPC hearing and other information sessions. If the proposal is not accepted, we will continue to maintain the same excellent working relationship that we have both with the town of Espanola and the Espanola Police Service, and maintaining our common goal of being able to provide safety and security for all residents and visitors that come to your area. So this concludes the presentation with regards to the costing proposal. I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to come to us today, and I'd also like to make special mention to Cynthia Townsend, the town of Espanola, and Chief Edwards, as they were crucial in assisting us in facilitating the development of this proposal. And I turn it back over to them.
Ask questions, please, in order. Anybody got a question? When you look at your presentation,
was that, you said something about an integrated service, and I saw that. And it said, pay for actual hours. So does that mean pay for actual hours? Does that mean that if some of the people that are normally in the town of Espanola policing are called out out of the municipality, those hours would be deducted?
All right, so I'll try to answer that for you. So what it is we have a system that's called our daily activity reporting. And what that does is me as an officer, every day I have to complete my daily activity report, and it identifies where I worked that day. So if I worked in Aurelia, it says I worked in Aurelia. If I worked in the town of Espanola, it says I worked in the town of Espanola. If it says I worked in Kapuskasing, it says I worked there. You are only billed for the hours that are provided to your community. So from us on the billing standpoint, right, because we do the billing side, it's all reconciled to actuals.
So that would be like that number we saw where it's 12.4. So it could be 11.2 today.
Well, it's annual. It's reconciled
Yeah.
annually. It's reconciled annually.
Yeah, but it would subtract from that.
Correct. Yes.
The 1,400 and some hours, that's equivalent of a full-time officer minus vacation, sickness,
Correct.
floaters, training, and that type of thing. Is that correct?
Correct.
So when you're talking 12.2 for a full-time equivalent, that means you paid the salary for the year for those people. But you're not going to get 2,000 hours each
Correct.
because they're going to be doing other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The Espanola zone one. The Espanola zone, I realize that the officers in town, if they're needed outside of town, and of course it's more from outside or moving in. So when you see the Espanola zone, I know from the map, it looked like someplace around Whitefish Falls.
Yeah, we'll put that slide up.
Okay.
Put the map up. It's not mine.
So Whitefish Falls to Piscotacing?
So basically, zone 3 is the town of Espanola, as your road district covers. The Espanola zone is the current Espanola OPP detachment boundary zone. As it is. So the outlining, let's call it the outlining shaded area, that is our current Espanola OPP zone, and that would not change.
No, and I got that, but the officers that are stationed in the municipality would only be taken out in emergency situations,
Well, actually,
or would they be out patrolling?
so essentially, when you recall the video about the integrated policing model, we do not define officers as municipal officers or provincial officers. However, and also when you saw the proposed structure, we had, I believe it was 6 officers that were assigned or were Espanola officers per platoon.
Mm-hmm.
So those officers during any given shift report and start in Espanola. However, because of the integrated service delivery model, they may be required to go to, in your example, you stated Whitefish Falls, for example. Exactly. So, however, that being said, because of the integrated service delivery model, the shift supervisors always ensure that our zones are equally covered, that we don't have all our officers that went in the area where there's nothing going on. And then when I spoke about the focus patrol initiative, again, it's also to make sure that our officers are where they need to be and when they need to be, to make sure that we're not in areas where there's nothing going on, and we are actually patrolling and focused in areas where where there's activities and stuff like that. So, for example, I think what you're trying to hint at too is if there's nothing, you saw that we went all the way to Biscuit or close to that area, we're not going to send officers there for the sake of going there if there's nothing going on. They won't necessarily stay to where our core center activities are, which in our case is Highway 17 and would be in town of Espanola and the nearby communities.
Yeah, and that's what I anticipated you were going to say. And it also falls back to the part where we'd only be billed when we're in the municipality.
That's correct.
That's right.
And
I have a question. You were talking about rebuilding 2 buildings the one in town, and I presume the one out on 17.
That's correct.
And does that estimate of cost come from the OPP, or do we have to?
No, we would give you the list of the items that would need to be changed, altered, or amended, and it's up to you guys to do that, right?
Okay,
So,
exactly.
and we do have like a list of, and we'll get into that later. You guys, so earlier this year, sorry, and you'll be able to see, you'll go back and you'll find a sheet that looks like this, and this was given to the committee to identify some of the areas that would need to be changed. And then what happens is we'll sit down again with facilities and identify specifically the cell decommissioning. We'll identify it, but it's on the municipality to pay for it and seek out people to contract to do that work. So
Now, what entails, there was discussion earlier in our talks about a new building.
correct.
Is repairing or upgrading these two buildings going to suffice so that we don't have to reach down the road in another 4 or 5 years to build a $8 million building?
That's right. So because you guys originally, when we were originally in discussions, we were discussing a new build, and that was at your invitation. And should you wish to go down that road and we're looking at a new building again before this is done, what we would do is we would give you a new proposal, and that proposal would be for that build. But because that build we didn't really have a firm commitment, we didn't know exactly where we were going with that. The proposal is based on the two existing structures and how we can make those two existing structures be able to police your community. Is it exactly what we were discussing earlier? Maybe not, but because we didn't have a firm commitment to a new build, this is based on the two existing structures now.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. That sounds good.
If we switch to OPP and say a year from now, for example, the town felt that we didn't have, say, community education, could we add monster part-time?
Oh, an enhancement? So, do you want to say something? Yeah.
So, can everyone hear me? We'll just hear it. The question was, if, and correct me if I've got this summarized wrong, but is there an ability to tailor the services to allow for any kind of an enhanced service delivery? So right now, the proposal includes a community services officer and that availability. If the municipality wanted to have more of a specific type of dedicated service, can that happen? Yes, it can. We can add an enhanced position, or FTE, which is a full-time equivalent, for a dedicated service if there is a contract position. However, there's also that availability. What has been outlined within your proposal today, certainly we believe that that should suffice. If there was specific programs that you want to work or have delivered within the community, then that would be something that your police services board would work locally with the detachment commanders to ensure that that was provided. But if there was a need over and above what was being provided, and you wanted something that was specific and dedicated over and above the proposed structure, yes, you could do that. The cost for that would be the responsibility of the municipality for that dedicated service.
Would the police services board have to take in Manitoulin as well on the board, on the same board, or would there be an Espanola board and then a Manitoulin board?
Right, so you remain your same municipality, it would be a Manitoulin board. Or sorry, Espanola board. Sorry, yeah, just Espanola, just your community itself. You wouldn't have to partner with anybody else. You were the municipality of Espanola.
So you'd accept this board as it is?
Yeah, now you would have to work with Public Safety Division, which is a product of the ministry, and work with them, so they might have to disband to reinvent the wheel kind of thing, but yeah, it would be, we have no problem with making your board.
I have one question. It's for clarification. You said if you had any buildings that you were referring to for whether they need to be repaired or at least block some sort of legislation. The one that's on the highway, would we have to pay for that one as well?
There's certain things that you have to pay for within there, but that's generally like mill work, so it's be like lockers for employees, that kind of thing, but it's relatively small. It's not a major construction project.
Okay, so I'm to understand then with that statement that we would have Espanola police in both areas.
Espanola boots on the ground frontline deployment is out of the highway detachment.
Okay. All right. I've got something else, I just can't recall.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I know you said in your speech, I don't know if it's going to answer, it doesn't matter. You said all services that the OPP has are available to the community, air, water, whatever. I know under Section 31 of the Act or whatever now, a lot of those OPP services are available to communities, but don't bill it. They're a provincial service, and we don't get billed for those services.
Correct.
That would not change, I'm assuming.
Correct.
That's just part of the OPP service, they're there. I guess the detachment commander decides when it's needed or whoever's in charge.
Under the current billing model, we bill by calls for service within the area where the officer did the call originated from. Everything else that is after, that comes in, dive teams, aircraft, helicopter, that's part of the provincial.
That's what, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Mr.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Dr. Bell.
Just a little further, I think, to what Councilor Ron was trying to ask a while ago. We would be getting billed for 12 full-time equivalents for 9. I think the question we really wanted to ask, and certainly I think everybody that wants to hear, is how many officers would you anticipate having in Espanola on patrol at a given time, assuming there's everything's fine throughout the district?
So in the proposed structure, it's rotating shift work, and they're covered by, in our case, 4 platoons. Each platoon will consist of 2 sergeants and 10 constables, which is broken down further because we're talking also about the Espanola Manitoulin detachment cluster, which is what is our current structure now. So to break it down, hopefully to your question, upon amalgamation, you'll see that there'll be 1 sergeant dedicated to the Espanola zone. You'll have 1 dedicated to the Manitoulin zone. But in the constables on the platoon, that's their shift. You'll have 6 constables dedicated to the Espanola zone and 4 to the Manitoulin zone. Now, what's that? The Espanola detachment.
Yeah,
right.
I understand where you're going there.
And out of those 6, if I can elaborate a little bit, again during our presentation, we don't make the difference between what is a municipal officer and a provincial officer. Those are all amalgamated numbers.
I'm quite familiar with that.
Okay.
And I think the question that a lot of people I've watched too many presentations for that slide.
Okay.
The question for a lot of people is going to be how many officers do you anticipate having on patrol in Espanola at any given moment, assuming there's no serious incident at Whitehurst Falls or something.
Just on that alone, and that's a full complement. I mean, we're not talking officers in on vacation.
Of course, yeah, no, I know.
Out of this, that's right, right. But we're starting our shift in the Espanola with 6 constables.
Exactly.
And out of that 6, there could be 1 on vacation, but because we're using an integrated service model, if we have an officer that's on Highway 17, or 3 officers are on Highway 17, it's up to the shift supervisor to make sure that we keep maintaining a balance throughout our zone. So we're not going to leave 3 or 4 officers running up and down Highway 17 and nobody in town. The shift supervisor would ensure that out of those 6, or even out of the 10, that there will be officers in the town assigned specifically to Zone 3.
That's where the question is.
Correct. Yeah, and that could be 2, it could be 3, it could be,
Of course,
yeah, it could be any one of those.
and then last thing is your staff that you have in Espanola, uniform staff, for lack of a better description,
Correct.
are also available anytime to respond to anything that's going on in town.
So we always we always ensure that all of our zones are covered. In this case here, in this proposed detachment model, we have 3 zones, and every zone will have coverage.
Oh, I have one more question. In the event that the last man leaves this town, and he's out because he was called out to go somewhere, there was a big accident, will there be someone else shuffled from, we'll say, Manitoulin to respond to Espanola?
Yes.
And will they do that immediately, or would they wait until there's a call?
I'll use the example. I am currently the detachment commander in a huge cluster of East Ottawa, which encompasses Thessalon, Blind River, and Elliott Lake. So we encounter this all of the time. So, for example, on Highway 17, the Blind River officers may be dispatched to a major occurrence where we require, let's call it all hands on deck. Officers from the Elliott Lake zone will come down to the Highway 17, which is essentially a Blind River zone. However, because of the model that we have in the integrated service delivery model, we typically usually have enough coverage that we're not depleting the zone entirely. There will be 1 or 2 officers left in the Elliott Lake zone, for example, 1 or 2 left in the Thessalon zone, and we'll have 6 converging on that major occurrence on Highway 17 in the Blind River zone, for example.
So in a case like that, would it be preferable then if you grab somebody and say, Sedgwick, and bring him up the rest? So give a hypothetical event.
Yeah. So the nice thing about the integrated service delivery model, and I mentioned it a little bit when I was speaking earlier on, is not only does it apply within the 3 zones that we would have in the Manitoulin and Espanola detachment, if you want to call that, but for example, you would have full access, immediate access to all of our resources from my detachment in East Ottawa, for example, to the west, or all detachments or officers from the sub-detachment to the east. Because again, we're employing this integrated service delivery model that we're not restricting ourselves to, you're in your zone, you can't leave. So for example, if we did have a major occurrence in Zone 3, the town of Espanola, I mean, because we're using an integrated service delivery model, you could quite foreseeable see on the initial impact of the call, officers come from Elliott Lake, Blind River, Sudbury to supplement all of the officers that you currently have here as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But that being said, we will not deplete those other zones as well. We'll always make sure that the officers remain in place. So it's in the sense of the word a true integrated service delivery model.
Oh, it sounds like it works. Okay,
Okay.
Just clarification, did you say the assets of the town would be looked at and if they leave your standards to use them?
Yes, so for
And the rest
example,
belong to us.
that's right. So for example, I'll just use firearms as an example. If your firearms meet the needs of our InService Training, the OPP, and they come out and do an inspection of those firearms, you're not billed for that, so then that comes off the cost. If your computers are right, any kind of thing like that. So nothing is a cost as a cost. It's always reconciled to actual, right? So we never charge you for something we don't receive. So we put it on the bill now because this is what it probably is going to be. But then if there's cost savings within there, then those cost savings are passed back on to you.
Grants for things like court security, you've got a court security officer, or we're sharing a court security officer under this model. I'm assuming we continue to get that, okay, so will that revenue wouldn't change?
That's right, and we don't include that revenue in the costing because it wouldn't be a fair cost at that point, right? Because we can't give you a cost, but it's really cheaper because you get a grant. No, we show you what the cost is, and it's on the municipality to continue to support or to provide this for apply for those grants.
Somewhere, I don't know if I might have missed this or not, but I'll ask it anyway. When it comes to bylaw enforcement in the municipality, are you looking to take that?
We do some. We don't do it all, but we do some. So bylaw enforcement still becomes a municipal responsibility, but in consultation with both the detachment commander and the region, there is a small list that we would be able to provide that service to. We don't do the administration of it though. It would be, for example, a parking issue or something like that, where a parking ticket could be laid. However, then the town would process that.
That being said, I can use an example from my cluster. They have bylaw enforcement. However, they're Monday to Friday business hours. We will respond to a noise complaint, for example, or anything that's outside of your bylaw enforcement's regular business hours, just simply to go deal with the situation at hand. But then the follow-up, if there's a bylaw infraction, we would leave that as a follow-up to your bylaw enforcement.
Anyone else?
Oh, I'm sorry, you said you had?
Yeah. I'm assuming that to calculate the savings after the transition contract, that's one of the issues that you're going to have. You've got a computer program where we can put our data into
Yes, we do.
that
And
to see what our costs might look like.
exactly.
And you'll review the data to make sure we've got the right classifications. Or
Well, that's where we will not do your 4-year calculation for you, which is, we always call it the 4-year calculation, which is where you would fall within the building model. We do not provide that. Having said that, what we have provided is available online. We've given it to your CAO. Is a tool that you can take your data and input. The reason that we can't provide you with that number in 4 years is because, like I said earlier, we don't have that data. We don't have our data to input. And I'll just use this as an example. What if your barking dog complaint is scored as one thing, but that's no officers, but we score as something else. So therefore the data doesn't match. So the reason we cannot provide you is we don't have our own source data in order to give you what that number is going to be. But the tool is available that you can take in. You can try to do what you believe would be your overtime calculations. You can try to see if you can identify variations in the way in which calls are scored, and input that data into the software and come up with a figure. We just will not provide that to you.
But if we classify it a certain way, you have a certain matching classification.
We can.
We may have classified it slightly different than you did, but to at least try to get a best estimate at our end, you'll at least be able to confirm what.
If you put it in here, yes.
Yes.
So we'll be able to help you. And like, so for example, if you're confused as to, well, exactly, is the method in which you input the data correct? We can assist you in that. We just won't be able to confirm that those numbers are
Sure, you understand.
Yeah.
And if I understand correctly, the community safety officer and you had a couple of
Crime officers.
analysts and stuff that they would, if there was a major call, okay, they would also go off as well.
They're considered frontline positions.
Yeah.
Our court officers are operationally ready, and so are our community safety officers. Basically, any officers that are in the face of the public, or court officers will report. Our community safety officers are in the public, and schools, etc. Those officers, in our case, are all operationally ready. Yeah.
All right.
I was happy to hear that about the engineering and what Bill just asked, because I know that some of our residents in the community are concerned. We have 2 officers per shift now. And they're saying, well, maybe our people will be out on the road, nobody in town, but with the integrated system, we always have coverage. With the frontline officers in community safety, we actually have more of them. In an emergency, they're there also. So that, I'm hoping that it puts some people's minds at ease, because they were concerned that we would not have policing at times. That certainly isn't the case. And that is something that's really nice to hear, and I hope it goes out to the public.
All right. Thank you very much for your input, Bruce, and all the information you provided us. Really appreciate it. You've been kind of anxious waiting for a while, and some of the provided certainly enlightened. With that, we're going to adjourn this meeting. This successful meeting of council is hereby adjourned. All in favor? Very well.